We're going to start today on the group worksheet, and it's actually really easy. Let me review some things really quickly and show you some tricks that you might want to know. So, if I took the linear function, let's say 1 half, 1 half x plus 2. So the graph of that starts at 2 and goes up 1 over 2, up 1 over 2, and so on. Now, there are a lot of different step functions that follow this pattern. The most obvious one would be something like this. And in that story, let's say there's a truck with 2 gallons of water on it, and you put a 1-gallon jug on every 2 hours. Okay? Another way to graph that would be you put on a half-gallon every 30 seconds. No, every hour. Or minute or whatever we're dealing with. We'll say minute. So every 30 seconds, you put a half-gallon on. Okay? And to graph those changes, you just take the greatest integer function brackets, and you either put them on the x or on the outside. So the blue graph would have greatest integer brackets on the outside, and the green graph would have greatest integer brackets on the inside. And something we learned when I taught you this on Tuesday, which I didn't know, is the rules kind of flip when you change from a 1/2 to like a 2. So if your slope, if your m value is less than 1, and really the absolute value of m, because negative 1/2 would have the same rules, that's different than if the absolute value of m is greater than 1. So if I had 2x plus 2, the big brackets would have a shorter graph, and the short brackets would have a longer graph. So I don't recommend that you memorize those rules. I recommend that you find the function and you graph it. You just guess. If you don't get it right, then you switch the brackets and graph it again. But what if I put 2 gallons on the truck every 4 minutes? What if I wanted it to look like this? It follows the same linear pattern, and the slope is 2/4, which simplifies to be 1/2. Well, if you want that 2/4 to be represented instead of the 1/2, it's either going to look like this, and then divide it by 4, or it's going to be 2 greatest integer of x fourths. One of those will follow this other pattern, so let's check. So I want to represent 2 gallons every 4 minutes, then I could do parenthesis 2x, I want to do greatest integer. So number 5, greatest integer of 2x divided by 4, and I graph that. Is that what I wanted it to look like? No, that has 1/4 steps. We want the steps to be 2. So I'm going to go in, second insert 2 times the greatest integer of x fourths, and that's what I wanted. So you can see those steps. They're 4 seconds long, and they go up 2 gallons every time. Okay.